What's up guys, we're back at it again with the hardest 1 tower challenge in KR franchise. And when I say back at it, I mean just started. And when I say the hardest, I mean that I haven't done the other 2 KR games to make a valid comparison. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. Many of you already know about this challenge or have watched it, but believe me, my version is only slightly different than the one you probably watched. So, here are the rule sets. Since our goal is to beat Kingdom Rush, we are only allowed to use the campaign levels to gain stars, to beat campaign levels to get stars. We are only allowed to use heroes that we unlock along the way. We can replay levels to do better, hence getting more stars. If the level has any kind of pre-built towers, we are allowed to use them as they are, but we cannot sell them for a better tower or a different one. And lastly, if the level is too hard, we must adjust the difficulty in the settings, otherwise the challenge won't be possible. So much like in the previous challenge, my cocky ass thought that the first level would be an appetizer, a sort of an introduction to the game, if you will. And it really did introduce me to an orgy of fucking pain, that is. My dreams shattered before they even started. Oh, hopefully this female looking hero is going to help me. I thought to myself, if the first level is this hard, imagine beating these. But I'm getting ahead of myself. And after more tries than I like to admit, we march forward into level 2. Technically 2 towers. And somehow I always forget that this level exists. Thankfully, this level regained my faith in believing I could do this. Technically 2 towers. Everyone baby looks like a lesbian art teacher and his anger perfectly matches his appearance.
I bend all
Okay, so now the real fun begins, or pain and suffering, however the both floats. In this level our micro really begins to matter, and for the first time we're introduced to a follow-up to get fucked, or FUTGF for short, waves. Basically, these types of waves tend to weaken you up for the harder wave that's coming right after. And if you mess up, you typically get fucked and lose. If you're wondering how the wave weakens you up, you're probably curious. Due to the FUTGF level being hard, I soon realized my mistake in star upgrades. Instead of investing in reinforcements, I upgraded the lightning first so that we could have a better crowd control. And here is where everyone really shined. His ability to construct a tornado from sheer hatred for straight white people really pulled us through in this one. So far, we're doing good. Until this wave finishes, that is. When I first saw the message for wave 9, my first thought was animal cruelty. Ironically, the opposite happened. And by the end of the wave, I was left with no lives, nor abilities, and you can assume what happened next. And through trial and error, I eventually managed to beat the level by doing the same thing over and over until it somehow worked out. For this level, I don't have much to say except that it was easy to beat, but not so easy to 3-star. As for the enemies, the Gnoll Blighter arrives for the first time, and this was the first enemy that required a lot of micro and preparing to beat, especially when there's multiple number of them. He was kinda like a gateway drug, but the drugs got progressively more annoying. An annoying marijuana, if you will. The analogy is a bit flawed. Anyways, we also got the Arcane Archers, but you kinda probably already saw that. Technically 2 towers, but the level was easy, so it didn't matter that much in the end. Up until this point, I really thought of Bladesingers as a go-to tower, but as of this level, I couldn't stop using them. These little shit stains were a pain in the ass though. Okay, yeah. Yeah, you can stop now. Yeah, thanks. Assholes. I'm starting to think that the level wouldn't be that easy actually, if I hadn't got that other replaced tower. Oh, also check this out. We got the greatest lesbian collab in KR history. Erwan and Malaria Swift Death. Oh boy. Unfortunately, here the challenge ends. I said to myself over and over as I began to lose my sanity. Nothing worked. There was no strategy that could last me till the last few waves, or potentially to the boss. And I knew it then and there. Then I needed to micro. Arcane archers did fine in combination with everyone and reinforcements, up until wave 5. Then the real micro really began and I had to sell and rebuy the bladesingers in order to deal with blighters. And I had to do it fast because if I didn't, I would make myself a very bad FUTGF because all of them would stack and fucking Uzi my hero down and everything in their path. At wave 9, there were even more of them. It felt like I was fighting a gang. You kill one of them, 3 show up with magic blickies. Okay, wave 11. Now we get to the hard part. From now on, every wave spawns up doesn't help to count amount of enemies, and one of those types happened to be flying enemies. So we switched to arcane archers again. But we also had some really satisfying
According
moments.
to Wikipedia.org, blood plasma.
Wave 12 was the last breather we could take to rest, and from then, every wave had the potential to fuck you up. And if you mess up on either one, you will lose. Wave 13, we use a very ancient strategy. We pray. Wave 14, very similar tactic, only this time our hands are on the keyboard because we're constantly micromanaging and trying to lose as less lives as possible. At this point, the blighters have overtaken us and we can't deal with them in any other way different from using our abilities on them. Wave 15, we're constantly being overwhelmed, and at this point we were just holding on to a straw of hope that we could somehow get through. The heart started pumping quicker and quicker in the anticipation of victory until the boss came. Then it was more of a hard skipping type of thing. With no strategy, I YOLO'd it and lost quite a few times. Then it hit me. I upgraded the lightning and calculated the time I needed to survive in order to do enough damage to the boss. Then it finally happened. When thought all hope is lost, something lit up in the corner with a ding sound to it. It was the Thunderbolt ability. Swiftly, I rushed my cursor to the flashing icon, and then I knew I had a fighting chance. In a matter of seconds, another icon flashed that forever sealed the fate of this boss. A great battle cry was heard. The level was complete. A new journey to the Silver Oak Forest had begun. Alright boys, we've officially entered mid-game, and from now on, the Archdruid Henge is going to be the most crucial tower we're going to be using throughout the challenge. Oh my god, sorry, I can't. Get it? Because it's bad? Alrighty then, Rock Henge was laughably easy, especially with all the stars and heroes that I had under my belt, so I immediately used it to level up Katha because you never know if you need her later on. Of course you don't, but I kinda do because I'm editing the video. This level gave me a lot of time to think about harder levels, which I did, and then proceeded to have an existential crisis. This is maybe the last level I'd use a ranged tower over a stalling one. And the simple reason behind it is that the enemies become a lot stronger and they come in more quantities later on in the game. Also, Arcane Archers did better with Goonies in early game. This level was pretty hard facing it straight on, and at this stage my micro wasn't at its best and it could really show in certain situations. Oh, I'm sorry, what? What situations, you ask? Oh, I don't know, maybe in this one, where a billion fucking badgers with 3500 health come in faster than a bullet train. And this is where Katha just outclassed everyone, installing, and single unit damage, which I needed to replace my poor reaction time. Eventually, I saw that the perfect parry ability was pure RNG, so I just waited for the perfect time to essentially capitalize on luck. The Crystal Lake was the level that flashed constantly in my mind as I was tackling this challenge, and now the time has come to conquer it. This was the level that improved my micro skills and raised them beyond comprehension. Not only was I able to sell and rebuy towers, but I was even more than capable of moving the barracks flag horizontally. You remember when I used the drug analogy on blighters, when I said they're a marijuana type of annoying? Well, the badgers, yeah, they are cocaine coated in heroin with sprinkles of crystal meth type of annoying. The redcaps were also annoying, but you know, if there were 35 of them and in a ball,
then I would be concerned. I take back everything that I said about red caps, they are extremely concerning. This level was all about quantity and I hated it. The developers that did this level were looking to take at least one life on every wave in the cheekiest way possible. The whole point of each wave was to weaken up the barracks units so that the enemies can go right through. Ironically, the barracks was the only strategy that worked. We switched to everyone again because Katla apparently is really allergic to logical thinking. Instead of shooting from a distance, she prefers to body block living grenades. She's also very bad in dealing group damage. Wave 13 was a pain just to look at, let alone beat, without losing all of your lives. But thankfully, with careful micro, we lost only half of our lives in the dumbest way possible. Nonetheless, the hardest wave was approaching. I never held more hatred to a plant, or whatever the fuck a mushroom is, than now. I lost so many times on this wave that I almost gave up on the challenge. The amount of enemies the breeders found were overwhelming, but then I realized that I could separate the breeders from boom shrooms, doing which I would prevent the enormous amounts of enemies. Now it was just a matter of time before I could get to the wave again and try my strategy out. It wasn't perfect, but it worked, and the wave 15 was thankfully pretty easy after the hell I went through. Up until this point, I was pretty confident in my ability to take on the whole game with just one tower, but nothing could have prepared me for what was to come after this level.